Greetings, everybody. This is Serpentine451, and welcome back to another episode of Weeb Warriors. Man. It's been a wild ride, and joining me, as always, is my good friend Jordan. How you doing tonight, Jordan?
Hanging in there, Tony. How are you doing?
Well, trying to watch the shows that are remaining from this current season, getting ready for summer, just all the stuff for...
There's no summer. There's only Corona.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there, you can say
There's not
that
going to be
again.
any fall either. Or winter.
There's always that. Oh my god. But anyway, let's actually get to the reviews here. And since we're starting with Kaguya, let's go with, since you don't really read the source material, Jordan, you can start things off talking about this particular episode of Kaguya-sama.
So, Kaguya-sama, Ishigami Closes His Eyes, Part 3, Miyuki Shirogane and Yu Ishigami and Kyoko Otome doesn't realize. So, this brings our boy Ishigami's personal story arc to a close, I think. And honestly, I loved every minute of it. Now, I had never put a whole lot of stock in Ishigami's backstory, given that he is a supporting cast, but, I always liked him. But, God, looking into his past and seeing all the things that happened to him in his mental state, and I was just like, good googly moogly, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can we address the fact that my boy was killing it as a cheerleader? He was giving it everything. There was no hesitation in his movement. Flawless.
Hell yeah.
When he was the anchor for that relay race, he was tearing that ass up.
Yeah, he did.
I blame whoever had the second leg, because if they had gotten to him just a moment quicker, he would have won.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But I think it was valuable to him to lose, and then get to have that moment where he can actually see everyone's face, because it was getting kind of annoying that everyone was faceless.
Yeah.
Except for that one girl who apparently went to his middle school and was still kind of judgmental about him, but didn't know anything. Either way, I get why she thought that, but also this man out here beating back these girls left and right, and nobody is aware that he's a player. Come on now, somebody's got to be a little sharper than that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently not, though. Poor Ishigami.
Yeah.
You gotta let people get hurt by themselves, my guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he did. I mean, he didn't do what I would have done, but he did good.
Yes. Well, let's elaborate on that backstory, actually. So, our boy Ishigami, well, he even says it himself. He's a shut-in. He doesn't really want to interact with people, and when one random person, when he was in middle school, tried to show him some bit of kindness, he thought to preserve that smile, that kindness, and that person was Kyoko Otome. And she started dating the, if I remember correctly, the president of the theater club. And shit goes downhill when he overhears this piece of shit just talking to another girl. And he got caught, and Ishigami, being the good guy that he is, wanted to, tell her the truth, tell her what's going on. And after a while, it all comes to a head, and Ishigami just beats the shit out of him. Because the president of the theater club, he pushed him to the point where he got pissed.
and then afterwards he gets outmaneuvered socially and ends up in a situation where nobody wants to be in, where it's your word versus the word of the guy you just beat their ass about.
Mm-hmm.
Especially given that he's the president of the theater club, he got that appropriate drama, and apparently nobody knows that this dude was dirty dealing, and Ishigami didn't have any friends nor backup, so he was fucked at 6 ways to Sunday. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know how else to put it. He
Mm-hmm.
definitely
He got the
didn't
raw
do
end of
well
the
there.
deal. Definitely got the wrong end, like the raw end of that deal. And
Also,
even
he really didn't help himself yelling out that he'd never let him get close to his own girlfriend out loud. Those weren't wise words.
yeah, he even said it himself that probably not the smart thing he did. And being labeled a stalker when you're already kind of a weird dude, it's not really gonna help your case. And he wasn't even attracted to this girl. It was the first friendly person that he actually interacted with. And he's just caught it off guard, shocked to disbelief. And even when a teacher wants to basically force him to apologize, because, well, he got suspended for a month for beating his ass, and that led to our boy pretty much becoming a shut in for that entire month. Not being able to write an apology, pretty much being forced to, making it sincere. Even when a teacher,
He couldn't do it all.
a fucking teacher was trying to, like, tell him, like, hey, the kid will not, like, do anything. He's not going to do anything wrong, all that stuff. You should just do it. And I'm like, bro, you're a teacher. Why are you telling him this?
Well, I think it's pretty much a reflection on Japanese society, right?
Mm-hmm.
They I don't want to, let me not overstate this since I'm not Japanese and I'm not a master of Japanese culture, but from the outside looking in, they definitely have a respect for hierarchy, conformity, and people that rock the boat don't typically uh, do well in the grand sense of in the grand scheme. And there's just I guess a lot of
Mm-hmm.
social obligation. Like when someone's supposed to be the bigger man, if you do something bad, you're supposed to apologize, and you're supposed to apologize quick, fast, and in a hurry, and you're supposed to mean it.
Mm-hmm. And
But Ishigami didn't feel like he was wrong, but nobody wanted to hear all that.
yep, and it took him a long while to actually write that apology.
He didn't write an apology.
Exactly. It
He wrote in the end. At the end, it was the president with a big "fuck you."
definitely. And in well, speaking of, since he pretty much felt our boy Ishigami isolated himself after this situation, pretty much treated like a dog, not only by the rest of the school, but even by his own father. And guess who saved him from, like, a life of inner turmoil? Our boy Miyuki Shirogane. Our Shirogane pulled him out of the darkness. It was just some crazy shit, man. But let's talk about how when he saw that bitch, it put him in that dark mental state. And he was just dazed and confused. But our boy Shirogane, he stood up for you. I mean, I respect Shirogane for doing that for his friend and fellow student council member.
I think the most important thing is that he did it in such a way as to preserve everything that Ishigami had gone through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole reason he didn't unveil this truth and whatnot was so that she could save face and preserve whatever. I would have let her know straight up. It's just like, yeah, nah, fam, fuck all of that.
Yep, well, he pretty much told her to just go to hell, dumbass.
Well, at the end, but
Yep.
she be alright. I think, but that was the whole point, right? Is why nobody actually told her the truth, was because Ishigami had already sacrificed a lot to try to preserve her happiness, her sense of innocence, and if blaming him for the dissolution of her relationship was what preserved that, then he was okay with it. But he also had to move on with his own life.
Definitely, yeah. And the best part about this whole situation where he did not write that apology letter, the asshole got scared. To the point where he had to go to a different school. I mean...
Well, no, he literally couldn't go back to middle school, but then they let him go to high school.
No, I'm talking about the president of the theater club. Like, he got scared because Ishigami didn't write that apology letter, and that
he was going to get outed.
Yep, Ishigami would just write the letter, just exposing his ass. He's like, nah, I don't want to deal with that, and I'll confess to all this shit myself. But I'm gonna tell you this. This, like, at the end with the relay race, when he actually says to the people on the cheerleading team that he's a part of for the sports festival, when he says he's found good people, I'm like, yes. I almost got clapped. I was happy for our boy.
Not clapping. Don't you ever clap for an anime ever in your life.
Sometimes I just clap for the dumbest things.
Can't with you.
I know, man. But I was proud of I was proud of Ishigami. He did his best. He pulled it out as best he could.
Yeah, I guess he did do that.
And have the episode end with Kaguya and Hayasaka basically just having this talk where Kyoko, even though she goes to a different school, she was invited to come here, even though she wanted to vent out to Ishigami that he ruined everything in her relationship. Even though she dumped the guy after the event happened.
Nope, he dumped her.
Oh.
Different, other way around.
Well, I must have read that wrong.
But I would essentially, if I could guess in his logic, he already had multiple girlfriends and was just stringing her along because she was convenient. But now that Ishigami had all this lumen ammunition on him, it stopped being that way.
It put
her utility to him was elapsed.
And you mentioned this earlier, and Kaguya put it. Kyoko didn't understand Ishigami, what he tried to do for her. So, even though she may dislike him, he doesn't care. As long as she smiles, that's all that matters to him.
Yep.
Well, we talked about Kaguya-sama Love is War for damn near 15 minutes. Let's move on to another show. But still, fucking great.
Right. So since that was the last on my list, actually, I guess we'll go in reverse order. My next life as a villainess, episode 12. The final event has begun.
Uh,
Another show where the twist is twisty as Twisty Twist, and I was like, the Huckety Hucks. What?
uh,
Sirius Deke was actually the bastard child of the Deke Lord, who was then used as the vessel for the real Sirius Deke's memories, but only his memories, and then was possessed by the shadow, by the shadow, by the dark magic sorcerer who gained his power by sacrificing his mother and was then betrayed by the whatever her fucking title was, Mary blah 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 blah. I don't think that's an actual noble
the
title.
Marquises.
Oh, my translation did not say Marquises. Either way.
Basically a female Marquis.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Yeah, that shit was wild.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was really wild.
Definitely. And at the end of all that nonsense, he gets arrested and pretty much got his,
Well, he doesn't get arrested. He turns himself over for investigation, and then he's subsequently released.
well, point being, he ends up, well, turning his, mother in air quotes. And he goes to live life however he wanted. And then we have Katerina making sure she didn't have a doom flag. Ended up at a graduation party where she's trying to figure out, okay, this is at the point of the game where Maria would confess to someone that she loves and whatnot. And
Yeah, and it turned out like every other female in this show that all of them have quasi romantic feelings for
yeah, our girl.
Shogun.
And she just doesn't really get it. And it all ends with the reveal of My Life as a Villainess getting a season 2 next year. Which I'm very happy about. In all honesty, this show is enjoyable. It has its moments of comedy. Our leading lady is not your typical isekai protagonist. Of course, she's dense, but that's part of her character. That it's not too egregious. Wouldn't you agree, Jordan?
What are you talking about?
I'm
Say that
basically
again?
I'm basically saying that I'm very glad that My Life as a Villainess is getting a season 2 because of its leading lady being such a likable character.
I think it'll be interesting just to see where they take the story now that she's pretty much exhausted I guess, the game's content that she's familiar with. I'm expecting one of two things. One is just going to devolve into a maybe slightly less generic slice of life, or two, she's going to have a flashback memory of the sequel.
Oh, actually, you're not too far from the actual truth here, Jordan.
Oh, I had a feeling that I wasn't.
Yeah, because the story continues with the sequel. Well, she I don't know how she remembers it, but apparently Fortune Lover had a sequel where Katarina comes back and she wields dark magic.
I hate it. People, we're just doing whatever the hell we want to nowadays. I see.
Mm-hmm. But it'll be very interesting to see how all that turns out. And she ends up working a job that's related to a magic. I know
What
it's
now?
some. I know it's some sort of government-esque job that deals with magic.
Whose job is this?
Katerina. But
You got me. I mean, I guess we'll find out.
yep, I just can't remember what it was exactly. But I'm looking forward to it. And the last show that we've actually did watch, because, well, we didn't catch the last episode of Gleipnir, just to forewarn all y'all. But Tower of God, episode 12. Jesus Christ.
Episode 12 of Tower of God. It concludes the underwater hunt. As you might expect, I mean, how do I... Actually, I'll leave this to you, Tony, since I've read this, essentially an inverse of Kaguya-sama. I have read the source material, and you're the one that is being shocked for the first time.
Okay. So, like Jordan said, this is continuing the underwater hunt. We have different sets of stories continuing from the previous episode. We have Rock and the green dude and everyone else outside dealing with the barnacle goblins and those giant worms. We also have Kun dealing with one of his family members, basically coming in to basically make his life a living hell. We have Bam and Rachel just having their interactions after they get attacked by the bull. I'll go more into that later. And the last part of the other little side story is Yuri coming in to beat the ass of that furball.
Oh my god. Every time Yuri steps on the scene, every time I fall more in love. She is one of my favorite princesses.
Yeah, I just look at her and I'm like, damn, this bitch is strong.
Yo, you ain't seen shit yet.
I know, fam. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm a little intimidated, honestly.
Yeah, it's okay. You like it.
Yeah, facts. But
Oh,
which side story should I start like describing first, Jordan?
I mean, obviously, don't say anything about. I think probably the one you should start with is the um, barnacle goblins, since that one's the most tame, I suppose, comparative of the other things that are going on.
Right. So, I will say this: one of my favorite scenes during that whole like conflict is our boy Rock basically saying, "Fuck running, I'm gonna jump on this worm."
Oh yeah.
And Green Boy's like, "Nah, what are you doing, you idiot?" But the best part of that whole segment, Jordan, you know what the best part was?
Hmm.
Kun basically putting a plan together to have that enema user and Laure basically trap those striped pig things to basically kick the ass of those barnacle goblins while having Laure pick up the rest of the fools that are just running around trying to kill those barnacle goblins. And leading into that, Kun himself had one of his family members basically coming in to his space while the plan was executed, and he was just taunting our green-haired boy. Uh, Whitish blue. I mean, you're familiar with the source material, Jordan. I'm,
Yes, what about it?
I'm sure more stuff is related to the interaction between Kun and his relative, where they mentioned Princess.
You're talking about that conversation that, well, I guess Kun had a conversation with the Kun. Yeah,
Yeah,
where our boy had a conversation with another one of his. See, so the families are technically related, like genetically, but I wouldn't call them relatives, and I know that's confusing. Formally, they are relatives, but this is the loosest form of formal that I've ever seen in my entire life. You should imagine them sort of like a feudal house.
ah. So it's like you have like the main house, and then you have branch families.
Yes, but there's not really a branch family, but there is.
Oh, they're all the
tell you about it. I'll
same.
tell you a little bit about it later because I don't want to spoil too much. But we'll spare anyone listening, so that they can learn about the world in time with these series. Because I hope that they're coming back for a second season, but there's been no announcement yet.
No, I haven't heard anything. But interestingly enough, on my end, I just really find that interaction interesting. How the other coon is pretty much taunting our boy.
Haunting's probably not the right word.
Taunting. I meant
That's what I
taunting.
heard. Oh, taunting. Yes.
Yep. And Coon wasn't really having any of that shit.
Combs gonna take a lot of shit throughout this series.
I kind of figured that, one, but one of like in this episode in particular, some of my favorite moments involve the princess's tracksuit and that furry asshole.
Lopai Bian Rin. No, is it Lopai Bian Rin? I can't say his name, but I do like I do like that family though, because they are ridiculous.
Oh, there's
I cannot even express to you how ridiculous they are.
like how crazy are those things?
Yes.
Just yes.
Yes.
Okay. But Yuri was able to like beat his ass. And it had to take the individual with the hammer to basically bring the hammer down on him.
Pretty much.
Because the princesses can't kill him. So they had to like have an outside force kill him. And I love how when he died, he basically looked like a smushed ketchup packet.
I mean, there are reasons behind that.
I mean, he got flattened by a hammer, but
Yeah, I mean, he definitely got worked over pretty strongly.
I'm sure this is the event that people all want to talk about. So that's why we kind of saved it for last year. The thing about Bam and Rachel, fam. I only knew a little bit of what you and Jay were going on about, but this shit. Oh, Rachel's a fucking bitch.
Yeah. So, I mean, in defense of the character, because the author has made it pretty clear that Rachel is to not be viewed as the villain, but as a as the female protagonist of the series, although she is not what you would consider the heroine. In fact, by his own words, she is the opposite of Bam in a lot of ways. Uh, which, if you're like most of the fandom, you see that as, oh, Bam is a great guy who cares about people, so Rachel is a selfish piece of shit. And yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And she's great at using people.
It
Fucking.
is her greatest strength.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you can tell from her use of the lighthouse, uh, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Fucking bitch. Pushing our boy out after he defeated the fucking bull.
Yep. And then just pushing him. I mean, because I'm just like, he can defeat the bull, but he can't swim.
Like, the fuck is this?
But it's because of the injuries that he suffered fighting the bull in the first place.
Yeah, that much is true, but still.
But yeah, if you're like me, you were watching that and getting re-mad all over again. It's just like, you filthy, dirty bitch. Fucking hate you.
Yeah. You just can't do our boy Bam dirty like that.
They can and they do.
Hmm. Now it just makes me think that since the whole point of him winning this whole contest here was both him and Rachel to like fly all the net dolphin queen. I'm just wondering what happens to our boy.
Like to know. Wouldn't you like to know?
Well, I'll be reading the manhwa here so I can know for sure.
Haha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you don't actually need to read part one because the anime did all of part one.
Alright, cool. But since those are all the shows, with the exception of Gleipnir, which we'll talk about next week, let's talk about the shows that we'll be reviewing for summer 2020.
Right. So the list of new anime, as I understand it, will be ReZero Season 2. Fucking finally.
Mm-hmm.
The God of High School, continuing Crunchyroll's series of 2020 original shows. This is another Korean manhwa. Very good, cult-like fame. Everyone's going to be excited if they do it well. Everyone's going to be angry if they don't. No Guns Life 2. I'm personally excited for this one. I really like No Guns Life 2. Monster Musume no Oishi-san, which is coming recommended from Tony, which it really looks like a clone of Monster Musume to me.
Well, I didn't know of his existence for a while, but I'm like, yeah, let's give this a shot.
And then coming exclusively from Tony,
Yes.
Peter Grill to Kenja no Jiken.
Yep. Funny story, folks. This one in particular, I read its manga. Basically, one human and who is the strongest person in the world is beset upon by various females of different races so they can have a sperm. And they just bone him.
Sense to me.
Yep, they just bone him dry.
Are you sure this is a manhwa and not a porno?
Yeah, this is a manga, yes. This is a manga. I highly recommend it. It's actually pretty funny in most parts because a lot of the cast of characters are great. And one of the characters is the head of the guild. This old bastard is both hilarious and just a pure asshole at the same time. And you'll understand why when you actually either watch the anime adaptation or read the manga, because both are hilarious. Well, the anime is not out yet, but you know what I mean.
Yep, I know what you mean. I'm reading the first chapter now.
Good. Oh my god. Gets funnier as the series goes on. Mm-mm-mm. But that's pretty much. Oh, isn't
Senpai, can you give me your sperm? Okay, moving right along.
Okay. And wasn't it their third season for my high school romance whatever
Yes, there is. I didn't know if you watched the first two seasons, so I didn't mention it.
I tried watching it, but didn't really hold my interest. But I want to try to rewatch it on my own time.
I like it enough. I mean, I've watched both seasons. I don't know if I did it out of love for the series or if I did it simply because I did it.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like one of those things. Like, I was able to watch all of Charlotte without any complaint nor criticism, and then I read all the hate about it, and then I rewatched it with a more critical lens, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of actively terrible.
yeah, it's kind of like when I shared my own experiences with just watching stuff on my own, and I just go into the small details of how most things just tend to happen like they do. Or I just rewatch something ad nauseum because it's something to do. Because, fam, I can't tell you how many times I've watched like various anime on Netflix just because it's on there. Mm-mm-mm. But anyway,
Oh, no. Oh, no.
yeah.
All right, yeah. Did we want to do a soapbox, or are we good?
We are talking about the shows that we'll be covering for summer 2020 was the soapbox, Jordan.
Ah, I see. Got it. All right, then.
So I'm guessing you've read the first chapter of Peter Grill.
I'm not done yet, but I'm reading it now, and oh, googly moogly.
Oh boy. But anyway, folks, I think that will wrap things up here. The shows that we mentioned we'll actually be watching, but not the last show we mentioned. We'll be checking those shows out for summer 2020 with, everything put on hold because, folks. But with the shows that we do have on our list, some of them might be of like solid quality. But anyway, we're just gonna leave things here. Like, any final thoughts for spring 2020, Jordan?
Nope. I thought it was a good season, a lot of solid stuff. I hope to see the trend continue. I really hope Crunchyroll continues with their original series because I found out that I pretty much loved all the ones that they've come out with. I did not know that Inspector was one of them, and I loved Inspector.
Oh yeah, Crunchyroll's been actually doing really good with adapting just a lot of things on their own.
And I've
And
been just like, interesting.
mm-hmm. Well, they're making enough cash to actually do that, and since they work
Yo, they're
close,
doing a Noblesse series? Stop.
they already
Stop. They're not doing Noblesse.
they already tried to do that, man.
Hey man, but they are.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, there's an original coming out this next season too.
Oh.
It's called Give It Take. Humans are mysteriously becoming monsters. Danger chases their every move as a samurai and a ninja arrive from the Edo period and team up with a doctor searching for a cure. What the fuck? Oh, I'm gonna watch it. Honestly, at this point, Freak Angels. When is Freak Angels coming out? I'm, I'm sorry. We'll talk about this later.
Yeah, but anyway, folks, we're gonna end things here. We'll catch you next week with our thoughts and opinions on Gleipnir. And if any of the shows for summer 2020 just pop up out of nowhere, we'll be talking about those too. So, we'll catch you next week, guys.